Hi friends, today I am going to be talking all about miscarriages. It's not the usual content that I usually put out, but I've recently shared my story about how I did a pregnancy test, I got pregnant, and just before my 11 weeks was up, unfortunately I had a miscarriage. This is not my first, so I thought it's about time that I share it with others so that they know that they're not alone. I'm going to talk about my experience. I'm not a medical professional, so if that's something that you're looking for, make sure to chat to your GP and your doctors. But basically I'm going to be talking about the symptoms that I saw and how I knew I was having a miscarriage, and also 5 ways that I personally healed from my miscarriages. So I'm hoping that this is a super helpful video to you. I'm sorry that you're going through this right now. Nothing I say will actually make you feel better. However, I'm hoping that it brings you comfort in one way or another. Quickly about me, I'm called Alina Ghost and I am a mum of a 3.5-year-old. The kind of content that I usually put out is like funny, motivational, and loads of cleaning routines and things like that. So if that is up your street, make sure to come and join the fun. But basically today I'm going to start off by telling you guys how I knew I was having a miscarriage. So to start off with, basically it starts with bleeding. But now that I've got like that foresight, or rather I can see in hindsight, my hormonal changes, my pregnancy symptoms actually declined a week or so before the bleeding even started. But I naively was hoping and thought that it was because it was coming towards the end of the first trimester. But basically I stopped being tired, I didn't want to eat like a horse anymore. But basically a lot of the symptoms were dying down, and therefore as soon as I saw the blood, even though it started off as spotting, for some people spotting is normal, so like for example my sister, so like for me it's not normal. Like I knew as soon as I saw it, I was distraught, I wasn't happy, and basically I was just like, okay, well there is some hope there, but if it's not, let's get it over and done with. I felt like, right, so I know what I'm doing, it's number 3 now, right, this is what's gonna happen. So yeah, the bleeding is how I knew that was happening. And the first time I had this, I actually called 111. So in the UK, if you're not from the UK, we have this line that you can call up. It works a little bit like an A&E, so basically an emergency department, to find out how you're feeling. So basically I would call up and ask them, like, basically I'm bleeding, do you think I'm having a miscarriage? And they don't tell you whether you do or you don't. They just ask you some routine questions. So for example, how much bleeding have you had? So they wanted to make sure that my bleeding was firstly that it was like red, so rather than it being like brown spotting, it's more like heavy red blood. But they also wanted to make sure that I'm not internally bleeding, so they asked that it wasn't how much was it, and was it more than 2 pads of red blood in 1 hour. So I said no, it was more like a period. And basically they sent me to A&E anyway, so that I get checked up by the hospital, who did an internal scan and basically confirmed there was a miscarriage. This time around I didn't even go to hospital, I didn't call up, because I knew what to expect and I had all the symptoms. So I had the heavy bleeding during the night. For me, I have like, I call them mini contractions, but they're basically really bad cramps, and basically that's what I was having during the night. So I knew that blood plus cramps is miscarriage. So for me, that is how I knew. But make sure to call up your doctors, make sure to get checked in the hospital, and just make sure that you're physically doing okay. And although I didn't go to the hospital this time, I still monitored my health to make sure that I wasn't having any internal infections, that things were still passing through. And thirdly, I also made sure that the placenta went through as well, and that was a big chunk for me. So I saw the placenta plus the little sac as well, and it's horrible, it's not nice to go through, and I'm sorry that I'm sharing so much information, but I'm hoping that this is useful to you guys. So that is how I knew I was going through a miscarriage. So let's get on to the part that I am hoping will be the most useful to you. I'm going to walk you through 5 things that have helped me get through the miscarriage. So let's start off with number 1, and that is physical health. As I've mentioned already, make sure to get checked with your GP, your doctors, make sure to go to A&E, make sure to call up if you've got that 111 system there. And basically for me, I started walking a lot more. I wanted to get back into my health routine. I wanted to make sure that I get my exercise in every single day, to make sure that I'm internally, physically doing okay. So by walking, it's one of the best things that you can do to get your body moving. And that's exactly what I did. And not only does it help move your joints, move your muscles, but it also helps mentally. Being outside is one of the greatest things that I found helps my own mental health. So you're ticking 2 boxes in one. Number 2 is mourning and grief. So it's difficult, especially that first time that I went through it. I was mentally grieving for something that you don't know, that you were looking forward to, you were excited about. I was basically just distraught at the fact that, like, I was so ready to have this baby, and you're mourning it without even knowing what this being was. It's a very strange concept, but it still makes you emotional. You're still grieving for something, you know, it's still part of the family. So let yourself grieve. So if you can take time off work, assuming you're working, then please do so. Speak to your managers. Make sure that you do take the time off that you deserve. Take the holidays if you can, and you don't want to share it with anybody. Yes, it's a difficult time, but let yourself grieve like you are allowed to and supposed to. And something that helped both me and my husband, because I wasn't the only one affected. Obviously my husband was really looking forward to a child as well, and basically we thought we really need closure, and the way we got that was by getting a candle and some flowers, and basically having a little bit like a memorial, and like just saying a few words, putting the candle on and just saying goodbye in that way. And I'm getting emotional, but that really helped us, because from then on we were thinking about it differently. We were thinking, okay, we said our goodbyes, we had that closure there, and then we can move on past that to then look forward to the future of our family again. So number 3 is organize and plan. So without thinking about like actually deleting the scans, and like I had to speak to my midwife to like cancel all of the appointments because I got quite far along. And basically that in itself is organization, because you have to deal with the fact that you're no longer going into these events that you've got planned in the calendar. But actually number 3 for me was more about planning and organizing ahead. So having something to look forward to really like helps me get into like the motivated stage of like, right, this is great, I'm going to work towards this. So having even like a little weekend away or like a holiday planned, something to look forward to, for me was really important. So I'm hoping that it also works out for you guys. Number 4 is do the things that you love. So self-care. Don't, like, the first thing that I did when I found out I was having a miscarriage, or like I had the bleeding, was look after myself. I did my nails, I did my hair nice, I did my makeup nice the next day. Basically I wanted to feel good. I also wanted, like, as I said, I started walking, so that's self-care as well. I started listening to my podcast again, so I like My Favourite Murder is one of my favourite podcasts out there. But basically it's not something that I like to listen to whilst I'm pregnant, so going back to that brought me back as well. And then also because I was getting all this energy back, and I was like the pregnancy was quite difficult for me. I had all the hormonal changes and the symptoms basically with the sickness and the lack of energy. But basically now that like I had my energy back, I started doing DIY stuff around the house again and enjoying doing makeovers, and like I sanded down my bedside unit as well. So just enjoying stuff that make you. What do you enjoy doing? Like, what have you not had time to do because you've got lack of sleep because you're not feeling well, you know, like, or because don't have the energy for it, and because you're feeling too sick to do that. You know, do the things that you love again, because that really helps to move on. It really does. And last but not least, and this is probably my most important one, and most one that I feel affected me, and that is my inner voice. So I went through a really rough time with the first miscarriage. I don't think I remember, like, I went really into like a dark patch, really dark spot, where I was constantly telling myself, you don't deserve to be a mum, you can't have a baby anyway, you know, like really harsh words internally for myself, and that's not nice. And like I was bitter about it. I was really like talking down at myself, and my husband noticed, and he was like, look, snap out of it. We had our closure. We know this happens a lot. Like, let me tell you that it's like 1 in 8, 1 in 8 NHS says that it happens in terms of miscarriage. I believe it's a lot more than that. It's not even 1 in 4. Like, from the circle that I've got of friends and ladies who are trying to have babies, that's probably more of like 3 in 5. And that's a lot, you know, that's more than half of the ladies having miscarriages. Anyway, there's also a stat to say that only 1 in 100 ladies are likely to have a miscarriage 3 times in a row. So that's something to think about. So yes, it's very rare for a lady to have lots of miscarriages, one after the other. So there's comfort in that stat, or at least I found it comforting. So going back to what my husband was saying, he was reminding me about all these statistics. He was trying to basically calm me down and say, look, you shouldn't be talking like that. Think more positively about it, because this is not the end. We're still going to try. We're still young and we're still going for it. We've still got everything going for us. So that clicked, and then I stopped talking to myself so harshly, and I think that really helped. So if that helps you, try and be kind to yourself, because your body is just doing what it thinks is the right thing to do. So give yourself a break. Let's go easy on ourselves and think about that inner voice. Look guys, I really recommend that you seek professional advice. And to give you more comfort, my friend who has had miscarriages wanted to actually seek professional advice, but they told her to come back when she's had more than 3 miscarriages. So they didn't even want to work with her after 2 miscarriages, you know. So that shows you how common it might be, that actually just keep going. Yes, it's physically and mentally so exhausting, and you don't even want to let yourself be excited when you're pregnant, but try and get past that. I am telling you now, when I get pregnant again, I will make sure to celebrate that pregnancy. I'm still going to be excited no matter what, and if it doesn't work out again, it doesn't work out, and we'll go through this healing process again. I'm just hoping that this healing process, my experience, it really helps you guys out as well. We are all in this together. Like, it's so common, and I want to share more about it. I want to talk more about it, because I'm hoping that this is just the natural process of things. And if it shows you anything, like, it's my body's process of going through miscarriages in order to be pregnant and have a baby, because I've already got a child. So maybe perhaps that's what's giving me that motivation, knowing that there is life after miscarriage. And I hope that also gives you comfort. Thank you so much for joining me and listening, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.